Hello, buddy. Welcome back to the Tin Man Score channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor. Today, I'll be reacting to some more scary story channels for y'all. And the first video that I picked out is 4 True Disturbing Close Call Horror Stories from the Shiny Gold Tales channel. So without further ado, I'm going to turn these lights off, move the camera up here for you guys, and let's get this reaction on the road and in the bag, shall we? Okay, here we go.
I was 13 years old when this happened to me. I live in Denmark, and my grandma lives in Lithuania.
Okay.
Every summer, me and my mom would take a trip over to her, and we rented our own apartment so we wouldn't intrude on her space.
Of course.
I made some friends while I was there, and I was playing with 2 of them. They were 9 and 8 years old, and they couldn't speak English as much as I could. That was fine, because we could play anyway. When we were in front of the apartment building, an old woman started walking over to a bench that was near us. We didn't think much of it, and we didn't say anything.
Yeah, of course, you'll just think that it's an old lady just sitting there enjoying the nice park weather. She probably wouldn't bother you, you'd think. But I guarantee you, she's got something sinister up her sleeve. But let's just continue with the story and see what happens next.
After a while, she stood up and started walking towards us. My friends turned their attention to her. Before she got too close, they ran over to their apartment building and held the door open for me. They started to scream that I should come over to them. I panicked a little, so I ran in a circle to see if the old woman would chase me. I looked back, and she was following me. She started smiling and staring at me. I was running over to my friends, looking behind and checking to see if she was still there. We barged into the building and locked the door, then ran up the stairs and looked out the window to see if the woman was still there. We waited at the stairs because we thought that she may have been hiding behind the door, and it would have been impossible to see her there from the window. While we were waiting, my friends told me that the woman had killed a kid in the neighborhood. When I heard that, I really wanted to go home to my mother.
Oh, I don't blame you. After hearing somebody tell you that old lady killed a kid, I'll be like, okay, we need to hurry up and get out of this country quick, because I don't want to stay there another minute, and you definitely don't want this old lady attacking you.
So I opened the door and looked out to see if there was anyone. The coast was clear. I started to run up to my apartment section and tried unlocking the door, but it didn't work. I started hearing someone walking behind me. I tried the door again, and this time it flung open. I started to run up to my apartment door and unlocked it with my key. I got in and locked the door behind me. My mom was sleeping, and I didn't want to wake her up to tell her what happened, because she had been tired that day. So I figured that I would just tell her about it in the morning. I made something to eat from the fridge, and while I was eating, I stuck my head out the window. It was dark by then, and the stars were out in full force. I stayed there and ate for about 5 minutes, and then I looked out the window again. When I looked down to the ground, I saw that the woman was standing there, under a tree. She stared at me with those eyes, and it looked like she wanted to kill me.
Oh, heck no. Now she knows which apartment you're staying in. I mean, if I was running into the apartment and locking the door up behind me just to make sure that woman don't grab me, I would have been running to Mom and waking her up and tell her what just happened. But here's the thing. If she was known for killing a kid, why is she still on the street?
I froze in fear. I didn't know what to do because I was only 13. I took the kitchen knife and had it with me the rest of the night. I checked again to see if the door was locked. It was, so I went to bed and opened the door to my bedroom. The time went by, and I couldn't fall asleep. Then I heard 3 knocks at the door. I slowly started to walk over to it, and when I was out of my room, the floor started creaking. I cringed with every step because I knew that my presence was known. I had the kitchen knife in my hand. My knuckles were sore from gripping it so tightly. I looked out the peephole, but didn't see anything. Then, out of nowhere, an eye appeared and stared at me through the small glass circle. I ducked down and hid, not realizing that peepholes only work one way. It must have been that woman, I thought. I decided to check in 1 minute, and if she was still there, I would call the cops. I didn't know if she would understand me if I tried to talk, because most people living around there didn't speak English. I walked into my mom's bedroom to check if she had woken up, but she was still sleeping. Then I walked back to the door and looked through the peephole again. The woman was gone. So I went back to my bedroom and got into bed. I stayed there for almost 2 hours, afraid to sleep because I was scared that the woman would try to break in. I looked at my phone to see what time it was, and it was 3 a.m. I was about to fall asleep when the door handle started to shake. I just stayed there. It kept going for 10 minutes, then it stopped. I must have fallen asleep at some point, because the next thing I remember was waking up, and my mom had already started making breakfast. When we were eating, I told her about what happened to me. She didn't believe me, and just said it must have been a bad dream. Nothing ever happened again with that woman, but it still freaks me out whenever I think about it. You may think that I'm really stupid for not calling the cops, but remember that they couldn't speak English, and I couldn't speak Lithuanian, so I'm not sure how much good it would have done if I had.
I mean, it would have been worth a shot, or try to get your mom to wake up and believe you and what's going on. Then she would think that it's not a dream. This is real. But of course, she acts like one of those parents that she has to see it to believe it, of course. And she won't up to hear that old woman tapping at the door. But golly, I'll be telling my mom up and down that I swear I'm not pulling no prank on you, and I'm not telling you that this is a dream. This actually happened. Well, that would be scary, just to wake up and hear tapping at the door, and then an eye pops up right in the peephole. I mean, that lady really wanted to get in and grab you. But I'm just glad nothing else happened with this kid being stalked or followed or chased by this old woman ever again. So let's get to story number 2.
My family and I are immigrants from the former Soviet Union,
Okay.
and money was tight living in Chicago. My parents worked a lot, and over the summer and on weekends I'd stay with my grandparents. They were very good people. My grandpa taught me how to play chess, and we would go for walks daily. He was my hero. My grandma rarely left their apartment, unless it was to go to the grocery store. She stayed home and took care of the place. I was young at the time, maybe 9 or 10. On one such occasion, when I was staying over, my grandpa decided to take me for a walk to the zoo. I was opinionated and headstrong for my age, but what happened that day changed me for the rest of my life.
I mean, some grandparents are like that. They don't want to go out nowhere. They'd rather stay at home and clean up the place. That's fine. But like this person said, they do occasionally go to the grocery store. But it's nice that your grandpa likes to take walks with you and go to the zoo. Hopefully you have a good time there, but let's just see why they said their opinion changed from being over sarcastic and opinionated.
He and I were walking, and although I don't recall the details, it was around 20 years ago, I do remember that I got mad at my grandpa. I got so mad at him that I ran off ahead and away from him. My grandpa walked with a cane, and he was a military man back in the USSR, so even as an old man, he could take care of himself. But he was too slow for me. After I ran for a bit, I stopped on a sidewalk, and the neighboring road was busy. The zoo was not too far away. We made the trip dozens of times, so I knew where we were going. I looked over at the street, and a gray 1990s Ford Taurus pulled up to the curb.
See, this is why you don't get mad at your relatives, because they're so slow, and then you storm off, because something like this would happen. I guarantee you that gray Ford Taurus is pulling up just so people get out and grab you and kidnap you. If you see him getting out towards you, start running, or go back the direction of your grandpa.
The front passenger stuck his head out the window and said, "Hey, little girl, you want some candy?" I looked at him and noticed that there were 3 men in the car. I was wary. Alarm bells were going off in my head. Something was wrong. I shook my head no. Then the man looked to my left behind me, and then the car sped off. My grandpa was running after me, and he was catching up, getting closer by the second. I realized right then and there that I was almost kidnapped. I stood there frozen on the spot, and my grandpa looked so relieved standing next to me. I don't remember what he said, but it was something light, and then we went back to the zoo. Who knows what would have happened if my grandpa wasn't there? I might not even be here typing this. I could be dead.
Thank God your grandpa was able to catch up before these guys grabbed you and took you off, because you've never been seen again at all. And your grandpa will be feeling so much guilt that he couldn't get to you in time. But thankfully he did. I hope you apologize to him too, because whatever you argued with him about to make you storm off away from him was really unnecessary. Because then, if you didn't, you still would have been with him and you wouldn't have had an encounter with those guys. But thankfully, this kid was okay and knows that alarm bells were going off in their head to not trust him.
At the time that this happened, I was just starting primary school. My best friend's house was located at the corner of my road and another road.
Okay.
Their door faced the other road, and there was a field across from their front yard. The front yard was quite big, but they had no backyard. The back was merely a small paved area with a door to the house. I would literally visit every day after school. My friend and I would go to and from each other's houses by climbing a fence that was located on the side of our property and backed onto theirs. One day, I visited them as usual and spent the day playing video games with my friend. After a while, the family told me that they were going to be heading out soon, and I needed to leave. They had already closed up the back door, so they asked me to leave through the front. The yard's shape resembled an L because the house was on a corner. Around the corner was the wall that separated my neighbor's place from mine, and that's where I was heading. As I was walking across the garden, I noticed a man standing at my neighbor's gate along the fence. He was just standing there, and he seemed to notice me as soon as I noticed him. He was of light complexion, but dressed in all black. He just looked at me as if he was shocked to see me. I wasn't too bothered, because I knew the gate couldn't be opened unless you pressed a button on the inside to unlock it. As I proceeded to walk across the yard, the man kept watching me. When I got to the corner of the yard, I noticed a second man. He was standing on the corner, on the pavement, and beside a stop sign.
Okay, at that point, I'd be like, what on earth is going on here? And why are these men in this area wearing all black? This kid needs to hurry up and speed walk back to their house before these dudes decide to follow and chase after him. Because this is getting creepy.
He too was dressed in all black, and he too stared at me. Looking to my right, I saw the fence that I needed to climb off in the distance. But as I looked to my right, I noticed a third man standing near the gate to my house. Like the other men, he was dressed in all black, and he stared at me in silence with no emotion in his face. At that point, I felt uneasy. Not wanting to disturb my neighbors, I shot across the garden and headed towards the wall. As I started running, I noticed all three men started running too, and followed me beside the fence. There was a pile of rocks leading up to the wall. It was very high, so if it were not there, I would not have been able to scale it as easily. As I began to climb, the men noticed that I was trying to get to the house next door, so they ran over to the gate and tried to open it. The gate that we had at the time was all rusted, so it took a lot of effort to get it open. As the three men struggled with it, I hopped the fence and landed on the driveway. I sprinted to our front door and began to knock and ring the bell excessively. The three men were becoming frustrated with the gate, shaking it until eventually it opened. One man forced himself through the gap. Just then, the front door opened and I shot in. My dad, who opened it, closed it immediately after I entered. He seemed preoccupied with something and didn't notice the men because he didn't open the door very wide before I slid in. I ran to my room and looked out the window to the front of the house. I saw the three men walking away in a rush, leaving the gate open. I sat in my room, heart still racing. I'm now 21, and I realize how lucky I am that I got away that day. I don't know what the three men's intentions were, but I know it definitely wasn't good, so I'm thankful that I got away, and I never saw those men again.
Yeah, you should be thankful, because if they caught you when you were about to enter the house and your dad did not open the door quick enough, you would have been gone for good. but they were not there to spy and rob on anybody's houses like I was thinking earlier. They were there to look for somebody to kidnap, it seems like. But it's kind of weird when they're all stationed in different areas of that neighborhood, and then they all converge on one person that notices them. Very sketchy and creepy. They probably already disappeared in the night since they're all wearing black. But that is definitely one close call.
I'm on the track and cross-country teams at my school. This means that I need to stay in shape, so I do a lot of running. I live in a very small rural town, so there are some very beautiful roads around my house where I like to run.
That's nice.
I have a specific route that I use most of the time. Because we live in such a small town, my parents let me go out for runs as long as I take my phone. My course is around 3 miles, and it winds around some incredibly beautiful scenery. One day, it was especially nice, so I decided to go for a long run. I got into my gear, grabbed my phone, and told my parents I was heading out. I ran down my driveway and up the first road. I passed all the usual stuff. Incredible wide cornfields and green trees stretched.
Man, if I wasn't so nervous of walking further than the road that leads to my house, I would like to jog or speed walk down the road that you can see all these cornfields. But I can't stop because I would know that people would think I'm a stranger just staring at their property. But believe it or not, I used to like speed walking or light jogging. But back when I was in middle school and high school for PE, we had to end up doing a few laps around the track, and I started to not like it after that. But I'm glad this person enjoys it.
Over my head. Everything was normal. I had my headphones in, so I really couldn't hear anything. I ran about a mile up the road, and when I came to a stop sign, I waited for a bit to catch my breath. I had only seen one car, which was normal because it's such an isolated place. I found it a little bit strange when I saw a car come up beside me. It was a faded pickup truck. I didn't give it a second thought, though, because there were some pretty strange people living in my town. I noticed that the guy in the truck was an older man, probably in his 40s or 50s. He seemed to be trying to talk to me, so I took out my headphones. "I'm sorry, are you trying to talk to me?" I said in a polite tone. "Yes," he said in a rough smoker's voice. "Do you need a ride?" No," I said, still trying to be polite, although I was really uncomfortable. "Get in the car," he said in a surprisingly calm voice. "No," I said. Then I sprinted the next 2 miles. He was following me the whole way, never letting up. I was very scared, and I ran for my life. Finally, I was becoming weak, even though I was in great shape. I slowed down, and the truck caught up to me. The door opened, and he stopped, but my adrenaline kicked in, and I ran all the way home. I've still not told my parents about this, because I'm afraid that they might not let me run on my own anymore. Thankfully, I've never seen that man again.
You don't have to be afraid to go to your parents and tell them what happened. That's what they're there for. You let them know, and they might say, don't go down that certain stretch of road ever again. Or they might say, next time, carry pocket spray or a little knife or something just to protect yourself from some creep like that. Because I guarantee you that they were going to try to force you into the truck and kidnap you for ransom or human trafficking. You never know. But you did the right thing just to keep on ignoring them and get back to your house quick before they followed you even to your place. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications for more Shiny Gold Tales reactions like this. This has been another successful installment of the Tin Man Score channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and I said that's a wrap, and that's day, y'all.